The Octagon House, Washington, D.C. The Octagon House, built between 1798 and 1800, was designed by Dr. William Thornton, the architect of the U.S. Capitol, and completed by the year 1800. Colonel John Tayloe, for whom the house was built, owned Mount Airy Plantation, located approximately 100 miles south of Washington in Richmond County, Virginia. Tayloe was reputed to be the richest Virginian plantation owner of his time, and built the house in Washington at the suggestion of George Washington. In 1814, Colonel Tayloe offered the use of his home to President and Mrs. Madison for a temporary executive mansion after the burning of the White House by the British. Madison, who used the circular room above the entrance as a study, signed the Treaty of Ghent there, which ended the War of 1812. This three-story brick home, adapted to an irregular-shaped lot, displays a dramatic break with the traditional late Georgian and early federal housing planning that preceded it. The Octagon achieves a zenith in federal architecture in the United States through its brilliant plan, which combines a circle, two rectangles, and a triangle, and through elegance and restraint of the interior and exterior decoration. The chode stones, stoves, and other decorative elements and furniture were imported from England. The construction materials, such as bricks, timber, iron, and Akita Creek sandstone, were all manufactured locally. The Octagon House was host to many famous guests, including John Quincy Adams, Lieutenant General Lafayette, Commodore Stephen Decour, and John Randolph of Roanoke. But let's not forget the basement and the common folk in our description of the residence. The basement held the kitchen and quarters for slaves. It was separate from the rest of the house by a double ceiling designed to block noise in the lower level from reaching the upper levels. The elegant front stairs hid the narrow back stairs which the slaves would use to get from the kitchen to the top three floors through a series of discreet service doors. The slaves could be reached by using the elaborate system of bells installed in the house. The spiral staircase is not only beautiful, but also a place of, some would have you to believe, at least two hauntings. Colonel Tayloe and his wife Ann Ogle had 15 children, and 2 would die on these stairs. These 2 daughters, both apparently were in love with inappropriate men, one of whom was even a British officer, and after quarreling with her father, both fell from the stairs to their death. Their deaths were years apart, but the similarities in their accidents could lead one to believe that Tayloe went on to an early grave not out of grief, but from guilt. The unlucky daughters are remembered today in popular ghost stories. One daughter can apparently be seen on still nights in the form of a candlelight ascending the stairs. The other makes her presence known at the bottom of the stairs. Her lifeless body is said to have turned over the edge of the carpet at the foot of the staircase, and today the carpet is, according to the story, found with the edge turned over no matter how many times one straightens it out. The next ghost said to haunt the Octagon is none other than that of Dolly Madison, who spent time at the Octagon House after the British burned Washington during the War of 1812. According to some, she still visits on occasion. Dolley Madison is a very popular ghost in Washington, D.C. She has the most hauntings attributed to her in the whole district. How Miss Madison came to the Octagon is just another example of the significance of the Octagon in its early days. After the burning of Washington and the Madisons' flight from the city, the presidential couple needed a place to stay while the White House was being rebuilt. Colonel Tayloe offered them the Octagon House, and the Madisons graciously accepted. It was in the second floor of the circular room that Dolly Madison held many of her famous soirees and balls in the residence. Her lingering presence is detected in the smell of lavender, Dolley Madison's favorite perfume. After the Madisons vacated the Octagon and the Tayloes passed on, the house was used as a boarding house and for government offices. It was during this period that the Octagon gained its fourth ghost, the ghost of a gambler who had rooms on the third floor. The man was a notorious cheat and was shot and killed in a card game. The story goes that as he fell to the floor, he tried to keep himself upright by grabbing onto a bell rope. It didn't work. The final bell can still be heard, occasionally, by some. The oldest of the Octagon's ghost legends is that the mysterious ringing of the servants' bells, just one of the legends linked to the African American slaves who once lived there. When the house held bells to summon the servants, the spirits of the dead slaves would announce their presence by ringing the bells loudly. The ghost bell is believed to have first occurred in the mid-1800s. Virginia Tayloe Lewis, a granddaughter of John Tayloe III, grew up in the house and recorded this family memory in an unpublished manuscript. The bells rang for a long time after my grandfather Tayloe's death, and everyone said that the house was haunted. The wires were cut, they still rang. Our dining room servant would come upstairs. Thank you for watching, and as always, please subscribe for more. So many ghost stories to tell.